Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful week. It is Monday. That means a new episode of Over 50 and Flourishing is here. And I decided to focus today's subject on something near and dear to my heart. And that would be total life reinvention in midlife. I feel like I'm well versed to speak on this subject, considering I went through a huge overhaul. I'd say 2021, end of 2021, beginning of 2022, in practically every way possible. And I wanted to talk about that because I get a lot of questions from you about, well, how do you do a midlife reinvention or a pivot? Or, what if it's a choice? Or what if you're forced into something? How do you handle it? Are there steps that you can take to prepare? Or how do you embrace what's sort of thrown at you without absolutely losing your mind, your presence of mind, and grace in the situation as well? Because I think for me personally, it was a combination of things that happened. And you can easily lose your sanity in the moment, but at the same time, it is a moment that is so ripe for you to be able to develop yourself, learn about yourself, and really grow in the situation. These are the moments where the roots go deep and the branches get bigger and the tree bears more fruit. But it's a process and it doesn't happen overnight. So I really want to talk about that process. I reached out to a lot of you on social media, on Instagram stories in particular, and I asked if you had any questions about this reinvention and pivoting in midlife for me. And also for those of you who've done it, any words of wisdom. And we're going to get to that in just a bit. But I'm really calling this my 7 strategies for success for reinvention in midlife. And let me share my story with you if you're not fully aware of my life pivot. It was way more than a pivot. It was like I was spinning out on the dance floor. I was twirling. That's what was going on in my life back in 2021. But the series of events went as such. It was in the fall around September when I made the very painful and difficult choice of leaving an almost 10-year marriage. And it was an incredibly hard thing to do, as anybody knows who has been through divorce, that all phases of it are brutal, but that initial phase, the acknowledgement of knowing that it's just not going to get to a place where it's going to be able to serve you, the things that you need aren't going to be met. And, you ultimately make that decision that I have to do this for myself. I have to do this to save myself, and so I don't lose who I am in a situation. And I felt like I had reached that personal tipping point. And so that was a very, very difficult thing to walk through. It's very difficult for anybody. So like I said, that was in September. That meant also having to find a place to live. It meant going from a house to an apartment with my son. It meant walking away from a lot of personal possessions that I was invested in, and basically combing through and scouring and just sort of picking what it is that I was going to take with me. And I kind of call it the low-hanging fruit. I really didn't care. It wasn't about material possession. It was about having enough to be comfortable in my own home and space, for my son to have his possessions, and I figured the rest would come. So that's a lot to walk through. It's a lot to itemize, to put it that way. That happened in September. In October, I retired from a 28-year news career that was wonderful for me, but also was something that just wasn't serving me. And it's very difficult to walk away from something that gives you balance, stability, at a time when you're going through incredible instability. And people thought, oh my gosh, what's happening to you? Are you imploding? I mean, are you having a total midlife crisis? And I don't, maybe I was, but honestly, I can't say that I was. To the outside, it probably seemed that way. But on the inside, these were all very thought-provoked decisions. They were not rash and erratic decisions, and I'm going to talk about that in just a bit. But they came from a very, very deep place of intent and purpose in my life. And so that's kind of number one where you need to start. And we'll get into all of that in just a moment. But it meant walking away from something that was a steady paycheck. It meant walking away from security, something that I could do almost in my sleep. I mean, you do something for 28 years, you know it like the palm of your hand. And it was happening at a time when there was so much change in my life. And I was pivoting to this, pivoting to YouTube full time. The podcast hadn't even started yet. And YouTube became this wonderful business opportunity for me. And I've thought a lot about it because I think so many people don't fully know or understand the business of YouTube and how you can make a living and sustain. So I'm even contemplating on doing another YouTube video just about the industry itself and how I was able to make the move and explain the business to you guys, because it's an interesting business and there are so many parallels between the news business and advertising and online social media and advertising. So in a way, I'm kind of walking a parallel life, but in a very different platform. And I don't have the security of the steady check. My monthly checks vary and fluctuate depending on advertising sales, depending on the economy, all of that. And that's something else that I will flesh out, like I said, in a YouTube video for you. But I went into something where, as an entrepreneur, I did not know what was coming my way. I didn't know, what my monthly paychecks would look like. And that's very scary when you're embarking on something new, when you are by yourself, when you are going through a divorce, and there is, as you know, expense that comes with divorce. And, I always say it's twice as long and twice as much as you ever think it will be. And I wish that seed was planted. Maybe it's for the best that it wasn't planted, but that's the end result, and it is the truth. And so, take it from somebody who's been there that it will be that way. And then, the launch of my book, and that was coming up in April of 2022. And I'll never forget having the conversation with the publisher and telling them, you guys, this is what's going on in my life. I'm going through all of this personal change. I'm leaving my career. And now here I am coming out with this book. And if you guys want to hold off on it, I understand. And they said to me, Dominique, do you realize you yourself are going through a life makeover? Have you thought about that? This is what you've written to. And it kind of took me aback. And I thought, my God, you're right. I am. And everything I laid out in the book is about all of this and then some. So they said, no, we're moving forward as planned. And you're just even more a living testimony about making over your life in midlife. But that was totally uncharted territory for me in launching a book and going through the whole publishing process and everything that entailed. So that's my story. I feel like there's more. I don't know. And then the podcast came to be, which is, a recent development, but this is something that had been in my heart, a seed that was planted a while ago. Thank God it didn't happen back when the book launched, because I swear I really don't think I could have handled everything that was going on in my life. But it has been this evolution. There was this quick cluster, and now there's been sort of a better pacing to things. But man, I mean, you talk about a complete reinvention in midlife. I guess I am the poster child for it. So I really wanted to have a podcast to talk about strategies on how to go about this. If you're in a place where you just feel like, I am stuck in certain areas, or I'm not feeling joyful, or I feel like there are areas that are unaddressed and I need to address them for myself, for my happiness, my purpose, my next half of my life. How do I want that to look? Am I in a relationship where I am struggling? And this happens a lot at this time of life because our children leave the house and careers are changing. I've talked about being in the sandwich generation, the pressure of managing the kids, managing the older parents, and the spotlight just isn't on the couple. And suddenly you look at each other and you're like, oh, who are you? And why are we together? Because I'm not feeling it. So it either takes an intense amount of focus on a couple to truly dig in their heels and say, okay, what are we going to be and what are we going to look like and how are we going to operate from this phase of our lives on? Or have you lost too much of yourselves in in life? Can it be salvaged? That's a question that each individual has to answer, but it's usually the first place where the spotlight goes. I would say the second place goes just to the woman herself in how she's feeling. There are so many changes that are taking place hormonally, which will definitely impact your mental state. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about my 7 strategies for success. And this really applies to every area of your life where you feel like you need to reinvent yourself in midlife. And we're going to tackle those on the back end of this break. You're watching Over 50 and Flourishing, and I'm so glad you're here. Who doesn't like to smell good? And I mean naked. Growing up, all we cared about were the pits, but let's face it, there are other problematic areas. There are crevices and folds and creases and privates that need attention too. And thankfully, a company called Lumi has entered the equation with products for all body parts. They are amazing. They've come up with a uniquely formulated pH-balanced deodorant, aluminum-free, safe for the skin, and it controls odor everywhere for up to 72 hours. And I do mean everywhere. It's pH balanced to go below the belt. There are all different kinds of scents like clean tangerine, lavender sage, my personal favorite, toasted coconut. Who doesn't like coconut? Lumi Starter Pack, perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant. You get cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a Lumi starter pack with code OVER50. That's at lumideodorant.com. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit lumideodorant.com and use code OVER50. Support for today's episode comes from iHerb. Hey, I personally love an online health and wellness store that has everything that I'm looking for in one place. I don't like shopping around at 50 places for 50 different things. For me, all in one. And I have to tell you, iHerb is my go-to spot for sleep support. You guys know I love a good night's sleep, and there are so many sleep aids available at their online store. And for you, whether it's, supplements in a snap, maybe it's skincare, makeup, allergy help, bath, snacks, spices, even children's health formulas, they have all of that and more. And what's so cool is that searching is so easy. You can browse by category, by brand. If you need specific things like help with hair, skin, and nails, then you can even further narrow your search by ratings, price, diet, and whether you're looking for vegan or all natural. They've thought of everything. They've made shopping for these products so convenient and easy. And get this, they ship to more than 185 countries. It is time to get your health in check with iHerb. New customers get 22% off your first order when you use code OVER50 at iHerb.com. That is 22% off your first order at iherb.com, promo code OVER50. Choose iHerb because wellness matters. Welcome back to Over 50 and Flourishing with Dominique Sachse. We're talking about reinvention in midlife, and I just want to throw this out at you. If you are new to my podcast, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. I love how this is a safe and wonderful space for women in midlife. We talk about all different kinds of things here. Nothing is off the table. This is a place for deep, intimate, personal conversation and vulnerability, and I am willing to go there with you. If I wouldn't feel authentic, it wouldn't be right if I sit here and talk about making bold moves in life and yet I'm not willing to share mine, my choices, the good decisions, the bad decisions, and everything in between. So I really love being an authentic face and voice for you. I ask and encourage you, if you like what you are hearing and if you've listened before, please don't forget to rate this podcast, give it a review, subscribe. I'd love to have you on a weekly basis and share me with your friends. It's so important because it allows for this platform to grow. And that's what I'm trying to do. It's my goal to reach as many women as I possibly can. So I appreciate your effort in helping me to do that. So back to what we were talking about, 7 strategies for success as you reinvent yourself in midlife. In my personal case, there were a lot of things that happened at once. Personally, I don't encourage that. If you can better pace yourself, I think it will be a lot easier on your system to do it. So really the best thing to do is to itemize and prioritize. So take a look at your life. I'm a big believer in list making, in journaling and writing down. Seeing is believing. It also removes you a little bit from the emotionality of it, because if you write the areas that you want to change, put it down, put it away, step back, go to sleep, let the feelings die down, take a look at it the next day. It's interesting because your list may shift a little bit. Your priorities will shift. Maybe how strongly you felt, you don't feel as strongly. So that helps to take the emotionality out of making a change. We want changes to come from a thought and intent space, because you're setting yourself up to be successful. If it's an emotional reaction to something, you most likely are making a move on something because of how you're feeling in the moment. And the idea is not to have regret. The idea is to set yourself up for success in how you do these. So look at your life and decide, okay, where do I feel I need to make a change, and where can I make a change? Sometimes financial situations may prevent you from being able to make changes in that area. I know a lot of women who talk about career changes and they're burnt out and they want something new and they want something different and they're tired of doing the same old thing. I mean, I did my career for 28 years, and while there were aspects of it that I loved, I felt dull by what I was doing. I no longer felt the passion and the thrill, and that's really important to me to feel as somebody who's a working woman. So in my case, I started my YouTube channel in 2014 simply as a creative outlet. It built over the years and built and started to become a revenue maker for me. It started to become a platform that I could actually exist on and sustain from. So it's not like I left news, boom, and then started YouTube and then had to wait 7 years in order to be able to have enough to sustain myself. It was an evolution. So are you able to maybe do a side hustle, start something on the side, give it a chance to flourish, give it a chance to grow, so that you'll then be able to make that shift when the time is ripe, or are you able to maybe go out and start interviewing, seeking, exploring different things? Maybe you need to go back to school to do something different. Can you do that while you're still currently employed? So the key is to be set up for success and not just take a leap and move to something different and find yourself in uncharted waters, find yourself unemployed, find yourself struggling. The whole idea is to come from a place of intent and then to success. So look at strategies. I can't speak enough about strategy. Look at where you can start. So, that was career, for example, or if it's a personal situation, if it's a relationship, can you start by identifying what it is in that relationship where you feel it needs work, where you feel that you are no longer being served or no longer serving? We have to remind ourselves that relationships are two-way streets, and it's not all about what we're receiving, but it's also about what we're giving. And if we're not giving, why is that lack there? Are we no longer feeling some things? Are there things that we can do to reignite that spark? That's oftentimes when the relationship and the marriage really gets put under the spotlight, called into question. And can you have that open dialogue with your spouse? Is your spouse receiving? Is your spouse listening? Are you being heard? Is your voice being heard about how you're feeling in the moment and the situation? And, can you get your significant other to the point where you can maybe entertain the idea of getting therapy together, of doing a retreat together, of reading books together, whatever that looks like for you? Is that dialogue open? Is it possible to take care of the unit and to help it to flourish, help it grow, and help you have your needs met? A lot of people feel like that needs to be explored first, but you have to have a willing partner and you have to be heard in what it is that you're looking for and asking for. So, the examination process and all of that is critical. If you feel like you can no longer endure, if you feel like your voice is falling on deaf ears, if you feel like there's no interest, if you feel like it's not getting where you need to go, then a personal change may have to happen in a relationship. And what does that look like? There's, as I mentioned in my personal experience, there's a ton of upheaval that comes with that. There's a lot of change. So, my encouragement there is to look for support, to find support, family, friends who can help you maybe with a place to stay, who can help you financially, who can be of assistance emotionally, therapy at the same time, if that's possible, or just talking in a group. But a support system is key as you make a big life change and really plan for a setup and budget. Budget, can I do this? Am I able to do this? So there's a lot of analysis that needs to happen in terms of a big shift in midlife. And not all shifts, by the way, are so catastrophic or so much of an undertaking. It could be as simple as, pursuing something new, maybe just bringing a hobby into the equation, maybe just trying something new, maybe just pursuing another passion and doing it alongside your life, adding to your life. So there are so many ways to reinvent. I don't want it all to seem so big, so dramatic, so overwhelming. Doesn't necessarily have to be. It could just be, like I said, learning a new language, going to school, learning a new trade, so that you're setting yourself up to maybe make a hobby become a career for you. So I want you just to look at all angles, but my initial thing is, if you can, focus on one thing at a time instead of all of it. Don't pull the rug out from under your life unless you absolutely have to. It happened to me. There was so much stress. I really don't recommend it for anybody, but I got through it gratefully, and I pressed into a lot of people, pressed into my faith, pressed into my belief system, friends, family, and my own ability, and just kept reminding myself, you've got this, you can do this, you can get through this, you can endure, God has you, and there's nothing you can't do without him on your side. And so sometimes that talk is really, really critical. The next thing is, step number 2, I think that we can all have this sort of dream, this fantasy of what it's all going to look like. But the reality of it all is, and I sort of touched upon this, it's messy. Life change in midlife can be very messy. Think about it. You are completely shifting a paradigm, a model, the way things work. And you are going into uncharted territory. You're going into something new. And it may not be as dreamy as what you are imagining and conjuring. And that's okay. Having dreams is important. Having vision is great. Trying to see the outcome of what it's going to look like and feel like, so important. But just be real with yourself that the process is going to be a lot of digging, a lot of gutting it out, a lot of soul searching. It's going to be messy. It's going to be hard. It's going to require you to push yourself and pull yourself in ways that maybe you have never stretched before. And I just want the reality of it to be of present mind for you. Don't just get caught in the fantasy of, like the Shirley Valentine, what a great movie. There's so many wonderful movies about women who've just said, screw it. And then I'm on an island in Greece and I meet Mr. Wonderful and life is beautiful and the sea is great. Yes, it can get there, but it's going to be awfully messy getting there, and just understand that process and be patient with it and knowing that it will happen. The next step is, and I touched on this earlier too in your list, journal through the process. Write down what you're experiencing. It is really, really important to have things in play. When you think about a sporting event, and I love this when you watch football, American football, and you've got the coach and they've got, the whole everything, all the plays are mapped out and they're laminated and everything is drawn and they're talking to each other. They didn't enter that game without a plan and a playbook. Why would you enter any kind of a change in midlife without a plan and a playbook? So writing things down, keeping a journal of, are you adhering to what it is that you've set out for yourself? Do you have a plan? Do you have a playbook? Are you following it? Are you referencing it? Are you making changes to it as life evolves and advances and you're hit with things? How are you evolving this playbook? Super, super important that you're not doing it without vision, that you're not doing it without focus. And I'm, again, maybe it's the journalist in me, but I'm a big believer in having things written down to be able to reference. And also, here's the other beautiful thing. As you make your life transition in midlife and you pivot and you've got some separation, it's really, really cool to be able to reference those early writings and early chapters of your life in this and to see how you felt and to see how you laid it out for yourself and then to see where you actually are. Because as you know, I'm a woman of faith and I think it's great to have a plan. You need to have a plan, but God also has a plan for us. And to see where all of that goes in tandem is really a cool and beautiful thing. But have the plan, have the purpose, have the structure, write it down. The next thing to remember is any kind of a change in midlife is not overnight. So think of it as a marathon and not a sprint. Like I told you, it's going to be harder than you ever imagined it would be. It's going to require a lot of depth within you. Plan for it to take a while. All good things happen in time. Nothing great comes easily. Nothing great comes quickly. So when we think about these life transitions, and I just think about my own personal journey to where I am now, YouTube started in 2014. That's 7, 8 years ago. Here I am finally with a podcast and a platform to talk about things that matter. This did not happen overnight. This was like a long distance marathon. Did I have a vision for things? Did I think that maybe the podcast would have happened sooner? Sure. Was I hopeful that, my divorce would happen quicker? Yeah, we all are. But there is pacing to all of this. And I think the reason for that is that we've got to grow in the process. We have to be ready for what God has in store for us. And I really think that timing and that pacing and our ability to endure and be patient with the process teaches us a lot about ourselves, but it also, I think, lets God know, are you ready to handle the next level? Are you ready? So I'm just reminding you, it's going to be a process. Anything great is. Anything, whether it's a hobby, whether it's a pivoting career, whether it is, ending a relationship or even finding a new one. I mean, I'm, in the dating world and it's an experience. And one day, I put out on social media, I put out a list of declarations the other day of what I want for my life and the kind of love that I want in my life, the kind of financial future that I want for my life, friendships, and to continue this platform. I think it's important to declare what it is that matters to you, what it is that you're seeking, understand that it's a process, speak it into existence, and then be patient with it. Know that there is special timing to be able to receive all of it. So again, it's a marathon. The next thing that I really want to touch upon, and this is about setting up for the future. And this is something that I think really, really hits you in midlife. And I know it's hit me. When you go through a lot of these personal changes, you go through divorce, things cost a lot of money. Economy can change things. You start seeing the finality of life because it's getting a little bit closer, when you're in your 50s. It's like, the clock is starting to wind down here. Am I set up? Am I prepared? And I think that one of the biggest pivots for me has been the focus on kind of the finish line of life and how do I want the rest of my life to look and feel? What do I need to be comfortable in this life? It's so much more than just pursuing hobbies and enjoying your path. And yes, that's extremely important, but you also have to plan, save, and prepare for your future. That's a big, big deal. And I find a lot of women don't have enough financial conversations. And I can promise you that is going to be one topic that I'm going to dive into heavily on this platform is how can we set ourselves up for success financially for our future, to not be dependent on a significant other, to not think that it's being taken care of or assume it's being taken care of, but to really have understanding and knowledge and involvement in all of that. Because let me tell you, things can catch you by surprise. And I've been surprised enough in my life, and those are surprises I don't like. So I want to make sure that my financial independence and financial security is totally set when I'm ready to say, I want to back it down, or I want to scale down, or I'm ready to just, travel in life. Am I able to do it? So that's something that really, really needs a hard focus and a hard magnifying glass at this point in life when we're reinventing ourselves is, are you financially able to do it? And are you financially setting yourself up for the future? We have kids to put through college. We're dealing with parents who are older and in, care places. Finances are a big, big part of this stage of our lives. And so I really want to make sure that the spotlight is put on that as we reinvent and repurpose. And we will talk more about this. We're going to get to your questions and we're going to get to your comments on the backside of this break on Over 50 and Flourishing. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. I've spoken a lot about this on my podcast, specifically in midlife. In my 50s, I was faced with a career transition and a divorce that had me questioning many different aspects of my life at the time. And as we grow older, we're faced with tough decisions around our careers, relationships, families, and sometimes these decisions can be overwhelming, and you may need somebody to talk to. Therapy can really help you stay connected to what it is that you want while navigating life so that you can move forward with confidence. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. Therapy not only helped me in midlife, it also helped me navigate my relationship with my father and let go of some old wounds. It paved the way for a healthier connection in his later years, and it allowed us to better understand one another. If you're thinking of starting therapy or you're looking for a more convenient option, give BetterHelp a try. It is entirely online, so it's designed to be flexible and suited for all of our busy schedules. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. That's it. You can even switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/over50 today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/over50. Welcome back to Over 50 and Flourishing, my 7 strategies for success for reinvention in midlife. That's what we're talking about today. We are on number 5. You knew this was going to come in here, but don't let your hormones rule your state of mind. Here's the thing, midlife crazy and midlife crisis, those phrases didn't come out of nowhere. There's a reason for that. A lot of it, yes, may have to do with where you feel you are in life compared to where you think you should be in life. But a big part of it is we are physically going through so much change, and it can make you crazy. It can make you feel depressed, anxious, sad, unhappy with yourself, unhappy with your life. It is profound. As somebody who has been through menopause, and I will never forget the early symptoms for me in perimenopause, you start losing sleep, you start having anxiety and depression. For a glass half full kind of gal, that was so rare and so foreign to me. And I felt like I was having this out of body experience. Now imagine how that's going to affect your train of thought and your decision making if you're losing your hormones and you're not getting rest. It can make you hyper emotional. It can make you hyper irrational. So I want to make sure that when we are reinventing ourselves, this isn't a reactionary response to something that is not in balance, but this is in fact a thought-provoked, educated decision that we're making to get better balanced. So I'm hoping that you see the difference between the two. If you are going through major hormonal changes, I really, really, really encourage you to please seek help. Please seek a menopause practitioner. Menopause.org is a great resource if you have not found a doctor or a specialist who does menopausal care, because I think that, oh my gosh, I know, having balance in this area just helps you to be an overall better balanced person. And if HRT is something you can't do, there are still many, many options out there to be able to help you. So I just want to make sure this isn't I want to make sure this isn't an irrational response to what's going on in your life, but I want it to come from a place of health, of wellness, and of balance. So I really needed to throw that in there, because I do know that for me personally, during those times of not feeling balanced, I felt very erratic and emotional, and thankfully didn't, but probably could have done some things that would not have served me well. So that balance is key. And number 7, like I said, is really press into your support system, press into your faith. You can't do life alone. We simply can't. I honestly cannot tell you how many times during the course of my midlife transition, how many conversations with God I've had daily, afternoons, nighttime, ongoing. It has been my cornerstone and my rock to be able to have that. You need it. You need some belief system. I'm not here to tell you what to believe in, what not to believe in, but believe in something. Press into something that gives you energy, resilience, faith, strength, because these are tough decisions. These are big changes. It's not for the faint of heart. And I really want to encourage you. And I'm not here to scare you, by the way. Great things don't happen in life without big leaps of faith, without bold moves. That's what I talk about in my book, Life Makeover, over and over again. Bold moves in your life to be able to live a wonderful, happy, fulfilling life that you can be proud of, that you can feel joy in. We can all play it safe. I could have continued at my news career for another 10, 15 years if I wanted to. I could have played it safe in my life, but would I have had the joy? Would I have had the passion? Would I have had the high that I'm experiencing now, living this authentic, fulfilling life? And I can honestly tell you no. But did I have to go through the trenches? Did I have to go through some dirty, murky waters to be able to get here? You betcha I did. Am I grateful for it now? Yes, I am. I've grown, I've learned, I continue to grow and learn, and I continue to be here and to share that with you. And so with that, with my 7 ways to be able to make these transitions as effective and as smooth as possible, I want to open it up to Courtney, who's with me. And Courtney's kind of been reading through a lot of your questions, and I know she wants to punt a few my way to see if there's something that I can answer.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. A lot of questions on making friends in midlife. So the question here is, any suggestions on how to make new friends over 50? I find this very difficult.
It can be very difficult. I am so grateful. Here's the irony in all of this. So most of my new friendships have happened because I left a house and I moved into a high rise. And it's like dormitory living. There is no quicker way to meet people than by living in a building filled with people. And what's so interesting about it is, these buildings are just mixed with such unique and diverse people of all different walks of life. I mean, you've got young couples that are starting life here. You have divorcees who are moving in here. You have older retirees who have sold the house and are downsizing. So I find that I've met such a wide, vast array of people just by not living in a house. So if you can do apartment living, and I personally love it, I don't think I'm ever going back to a house again, unless it's unless I'm blessed to be able to afford, a vacation property somewhere. But in my home city of Houston, I have no desire to be a homeowner again. I love high-rise living. I love the simplicity of it. I love the size of it. I love the community of it. So as you know, Holly, who's my new BFF, I met her at my other high-rise through my mother, through social connections. So that's the best way to make friends, is you need to put yourself in a place and space to meet people. And if you can't do it through where you live, I attend yoga studios. I've met so many neat people who share that experience with me through church. So I think you need to get out. I think you need to start doing things that speak to you and get around a group of people. I know, Courtney, you've told me that that the dating apps are also set up to meet new friends, right?
Yeah.
You've met friends that way.
Yeah, Bumble has Bumble Business where you can look for jobs, but they also have Bumble BFF where you can swipe on women and you can set your age preferences and a lot of other different preferences. And I've met one of my best friends through an app, which is so
and most
fun.
people would never think to do that for a friend.
Yeah.
But if you are in a place where you just aren't exposed to a lot of people, I would most certainly do that.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. You just go on a bunch of friend dates and go grab lunch with a girl and you see if you hit it off. And if you do, then great. And if not, then there's no loss. Yeah, exactly.
No, that's beautiful. That's super cool. So I guess the moral of the story is where there's a will, there's a way. There's so many ways to go about it. Just make it a priority, because I know I have truly benefited from the new women in my life. The women's wellness retreat that I did, I have so many new friends, so many new women who are like-minded, same phase, same age. Gosh, can we commiserate on so many things, So there's that connectivity that's really important.
Yeah. And I think when in doubt, everyone's feeling the same way, right?
Yeah.
Like you were feeling that way. There's so many comments about this. So if you see someone that you maybe want to be friends with, the odds are they probably feel the same way, or they probably want more support in their lives as well.
True. And I'm going to add to that. The other thing is, and I really, really picked this up on the retreat, we have really let our guard down. I mean, you talk about vulnerability in group sessions that we've had and like dinner parties and things like that. We have shared stuff with each other that we haven't even shared with spouses. I mean, raw, personal experiences, the deep kind of stuff, the stuff that you hide and you bury because there's generally shame behind it. And when you get something out of the shadows and you shine light on it, then there's suddenly no more darkness in your life. And we have really started to embrace that, and things that we were embarrassed by and shameful of and secrets that we've kept, they're out, no more. And it's liberating to share that. But you have to have that circle of trust. And there's got to be that covenant of, I protect you. What you say is sacred here and goes no further. And if you can create that, wow, that's a miracle.
Yeah, I totally agree. And moving on to another kind of a relationship, romantic relationships and dating. There's tons of questions and just wanting advice for dating in your 50s.
Yeah. I mean, it's, that's an arena that I'm starting to move into. I've dated just through, people who've approached me or through friends and things like that. But I am open to all forms of dating. I am open to, certain apps. I'm open to relationship coaches and matchmakers and all kinds of things. I believe that if you put yourself out there in the right way, the right person will come to you. But I think the ultimate goal is you've got to put yourself out there in some form or fashion. You've got to make a declaration that, first of all, you want this in your life, and it's not a need. And when I put out that I'm looking for true romantic love, I'm looking for somebody who will respect me and honor me. And there are so many men who say that they want an independent, strong woman, but then once they get them, they're scared to death of them and they try to squash them. And so it's like, no. You want an independent, strong woman, you've got to treat her with respect and have the confidence to be able to handle that. So you have to, but the moral of the story is you've just got to put yourself out there and try different things. But just say, I'm ready. I'm ready for love in my life. I don't need it. I want it. I'm ready for it. And I'm willing to try all these different avenues to explore it. And what a great story then to be able to share. I mean, there are crazy moments that can come with that, some, crazy dating app stories. There can be some crazy highs, crazy lows, whatever. But that's life. Life is experience. So you have to get out and experience. You've experienced.
I've experienced.
We talk about it all the time.
So what would you say? I feel like a lot of people with this subject in particular, when you say, just put yourself out there, what would you say would be your advice, to put yourself out there? I think that's the hardest step for a lot of women is just getting out there, going on a first date, meeting someone, going to have lunch with them. Because for a lot of people, that's terrifying.
It's terrifying. But I would first of all reach out to your circle. So I would reach out to your friends and say, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to start dating. I'm ready for love. Do you know of anybody? Do you know of somebody who would be a good fit? I mean, there are so many people I know who have served as matchmakers and have set up so many people. So really, through the people who know you, who best to help serve you in that way? Because they may know somebody that you're not connected with. So tell your friends, tell people in your circle what you're looking for and what you're wanting in your life, and be specific of what you're looking for. So let friends kind of be enablers in that way. If that doesn't work out for you, there are, like you said, dating sites. There are matchmaking services. There are functions and organizations within churches, singles groups, but just get out and find ways to try. Find something that speaks to you. Yeah. And any input on your end on that?
I mean, I totally agree. I think you just have to put yourself out there, and just my motto is like, what's the worst that could happen, right? Like you spend an hour at lunch with someone that you don't get along with, and like there's no hurt there, right?
Yeah.
You can say you did it, and then the more that you date, the more you can discover what you like and what you don't like, and what you're looking for in a person, and you may find someone that you hit it off, and then great. But if not, there's no loss in that. And I think that's what
I agree.
I always tell my friends, like, worst case scenario, you'll have like a funny story to tell me after.
Exactly.
Right?
It's a life experience, and it could be a humorous story.
100%.
Or if it's not a romantic relationship, maybe you've made a new friend out of the situation. And the beauty is, I mean, we're talking app specific here, but there are so many apps that are even catered toward midlife and on. So you can find your age group, you can find your demo, you can find, what it is that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, it was just Match.com, or some of those. And now there are tons.
There's even an app, I think it's called Meetup. I used it when I first moved to Houston. And it's just people meeting up. So you can find your age group, you can find like a group that has similar interests as you, if you all listen to the same artist, or you all like to cook, or you all like to whatever. There's so many meetups. I know there's a lot in Houston. I'd assume in a lot of major cities there's also a ton. But maybe even just, finding a group, and then maybe it'll be more of like an authentic connection or a natural connection with someone that you just happen to meet in a group.
Yeah, and especially if it's over something specific like cooking, and you like to cook, and maybe you meet somebody else who likes to cook. Well, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And next, lots of questions on wanting to pivot professionally, which you definitely touched upon and went through yourself. So just any advice on, where to start, or how you know that it's time, or to take that leap?
Yeah, that intuition, I don't think we listen to our intuition enough. And it's amazing how much it guides us if we allow it. Sometimes the voice can be small and squeaky, and then if ignored, it can get very, very loud. Our gut tells us a lot. It tells us when it's time to make a move, when it's time to do something. But what I elaborated on in my list is the planning and the preparation, because you can have that voice speaking to you. That voice spoke to me about the TV news business for, I'd say, maybe 3 years before I got out of it. So it was there. And, in my particular case, news anchors run under TV news contracts. So I had a contract to fulfill and that I was obligated to. And I wanted to honor that. That was important to me to do that. But at the same time, it also gave me time, like we said, to build up the YouTube platform so that it would enable me to make a career out of it, and I could live on my own. So what I say to women is set yourself up for success. Plan it. Understand it. If that voice is speaking to you, don't squash it. It's there for a reason. See what you can do. Research. Talk to people. Get a mentor. I talk a lot about that in my book. Get a mentor in an area that you're looking to explore. And that way they can help provide a roadmap for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Any tips on finding new hobbies after divorce? Sometimes hard by yourself.
Yeah. And again, what speaks to you? It could be something from childhood, or in my case, as I became a homeowner and I got tired of paying landscaping fees, suddenly I took up a love of gardening. And that's something that I really enjoy doing, and it's very cathartic for me. It could be dance. I love to dance, and I took dance lessons once. And that was amazing, because I was doing a charity event that was called Dancing with the Houston Stars, based off of the TV show that was so successful. And I had to learn a routine. And it was wonderful because it hooked back into a passion of mine that I had as a child, which was dance. But it was something that I got to do as an adult, and I had to learn a cha-cha. And it was wonderful for me physically, mentally. You're having to learn and memorize moves and steps, which is a great thing to do in midlife. And just the joy of being a free spirit out on the dance floor and then expose myself to an audience and have to perform. That was way, way cool. So again, it's figuring out what speaks to you and then putting yourself out there and finding ways to do it.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Upcoming YouTube video, Dancing with Dominique.
I listen, I'm ready to go back to the dance studio.
Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine?
I would love that.
Okay, we're doing it.
Okay, next question. How to accept and love your body when it's in a new season of life and your body type has changed?
Yeah. Again, I just, health and wellness for me is just such a big part of my life, which really, really involved getting to the roots of my hormonal changes and addressing that. So yes, there are things that are going to change that you have to accept, but there are things that you can control. So it's the analysis of what can I control, what can I manage, what can I do to be healthy for the rest of my life in this stage of life. And we're not just talking about how I look in the mirror. I want strong bones. I want my heart functioning. I want my brain functioning, right? These are all things that are going to serve me as I age and as I continue to work and perform. So I'm looking at the inside. And if you think about your body from an inside out perspective, health-wise, it sort of shifts your paradigm on how you see yourself, because you're taking all the steps to be healthy. You're honoring what your body needs. You're getting sleep. You're getting resistance training, which is critical for your body. We women lose bone and muscle mass dramatically, post-menopause. In fact, it takes about 100 grams of protein per 100 pounds. If you weigh 100 pounds, you need 100 grams of protein just to maintain your muscle mass. So think about that. That's a lot of protein to take in. And then you got to maintain your muscle mass. So it's the whole picture. And I feel that if you address all those things and do all those things, you will be far more accepting of the changes that are taking place. I mean, you can be very fit in midlife, but what can't I change? I can't change the loose skin that's going to happen from a lack of elasticity. That's just going to happen, and I'm going to have to accept that. I can continue to build my muscle, I can continue to build my strength, but I've got to accept the loose skin that comes with it. I've got to accept, fat transfers and where things are going to go and shift. But if you come from a mindset of health over just what is seen in the mirror, I think that you will be far more accepting of what age has to bring.
Mm-hmm. And last question, and kind of overall, you've talked about this, but this person said, I want to do this, but I don't have a clue how to or where to begin.
Yeah, that's
kind of what would be just
the roadmap.
Yeah,
again,
what's the first step?
Writing down what is speaking to you. What are you hearing? What's kind of pecking at you? Start writing down and then start prioritizing what matters most. Where can I start? Some things you may not be able to do immediately, but some things you can. And I believe that small changes can lead to bigger changes, So if your pivot is a smaller one, do it. Feel it. Feel how good that embracing and that change is. It gives you confidence, it gives you strength, it gives you courage to better tackle and better move on to the next step and that next level. So that's really what I would suggest. Start small if you can and move to the bigger things. I don't recommend pulling the rug out from under your life all at once. It's a bit chaotic, but sometimes you have to do it. And I can tell you, if that is where you are in your life, you can, you will, and you will get through. I promise. God doesn't drop you. He never does.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, we also asked your audience, if they have any pieces of advice, if they've gone through anything. So a few that were pulled. This person says positivity is always so important. The next person says, I received a pellet every 4 months, and what a life changer that's been.
Yes.
This person says, just do it, trust God and the process. This person, a big thing you touched upon, surround yourself with a supportive tribe. This person says, sometimes taking a leap of faith is the safest thing you can do. Magic happens outside of your comfort zone.
Yep.
This person said that they left a 21-year corporate career last summer with nothing lined up. Age 53, took off a year, was scary, but the best year of my life, best decision. Now I'm working for myself. Always bet on yourself.
Yep.
This person says you can always hit the reset button, a native Houstonian, and I moved to Austin at the age of 54.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So beautiful, fabulous examples of women who took the risk, took the leap of faith in different areas of their lives and are clearly happier and grateful that they did and have learned a lot about themselves. So the moral of the story is, can I encourage you, if something is speaking to you at this time of your life, to be able to make a change, to grow, to develop yourself, to discover something new? Wow. What an opportunity, what a blessing, what a chance for you to see yourself in a new way. And I can't wait to hear and see what it is that you choose to explore. Thank you so much for participating and for sparking the conversation today on Over 50 and Flourishing.